You're watching Back Pages tonight, and a warm welcome back to Jonathan Liew and Sam Wallace. Now, let's go to the Mail, because a big story, isn't it, in F1. On the right-hand side, Lewis Hamilton in blast at Lonely Horner. That's the Red Bull principal, Christian Horner. And in the Times as well, another story saying Hamilton slams stirrer Horner. Jonathan Liew, let's start with you on this. It's claim and counterclaim, it seems. Who approached who for Hamilton to go to Red Bull? Regardless of who approached who, do you think we'll ever see it? And do you think we need to see it?
Well, I guess, Christian Horner says that that somebody from Lewis Hamilton's team approached him with a view to moving to Red Bull. Lewis Hamilton said it was actually Horner who approached him. I've thought about this quite a bit, and I frankly don't really care that much. Not because it's not interesting, but because we're never actually going to get to the bottom of it, and because, to answer the other part of your question, it's never going to happen. It really is never going to happen. Because this is because the bond between Hamilton and Mercedes, it's something more than a sporting bond. He always refers to this team as his family. We all about the relationship between him and Toto Wolff. Everyone knows his ambition to win that eighth World Drivers' Championship and kind of close the gap to Red Bull. And I don't think Red Bull were ever really going to to come close to breaking that. I mean, Ferrari apparently have made attempts over the years. It's not something that I think is a realistic prospect. But if Christian Horner is right, and he's somebody from Hamilton's team has reached out to him, then he's got everyone talking about what is pretty much a dead Grand Prix in Abu Dhabi. So in many ways, this story has done its work already.
Just staying with you, Jonathan, very quickly, just on that, do you think the sport maybe needs Hamilton and Verstappen fighting it out in an equal machine on a fair ground?
I don't necessarily think it needs that. I think it definitely needs a Mercedes or Ferrari to close the gap on Red Bull. But equally, I think this, if you go back through the history of F1, it's built on dynasties, whether it was McLaren in the 90s or the 80s, or Michael Schumacher at Ferrari. There have always been periods of dominance in the history of the sport, and these things come to an end. Eras of dominance come to an end. Red Bulls certainly will, as their their era of dominance with Sebastian Vettel did in the last decade. Other teams will close the gap. It's just a case of making sure that there is enough in the rest of the sport for casual viewers and fans of the sport to get their teeth into until those gaps can close.
Sam, let's get to the Daily Telegraph and the Tom Carey exclusive with Max Verstappen. The headline is, "We're at the tipping point. F1 is about sport, not the show." Is that right?
Yeah, I think it's quite dramatic, Thomas. I mean, obviously, getting an interview with the triple world champion must be is a pretty good afternoon for any F1 reporter. But Tom has turned up, and Verstappen has had quite a lot to say to him. I mean, this is certainly one of the two golden boys of the sport, saying that he felt like a clown at the pre-race ceremony for the Las Vegas Grand Prix. He's sort of calling upon the sport to remember the purest element of racing, and also talking about walking away if he feels that he's not enjoying it. He's clearly, it's a family business with him, isn't it? And he's clearly a devotee of the sport in its purest form. And as someone who doesn't cover F1, I find that fascinating. I can't think of what the equivalent would be in football, but it would be one of our leading players, I presume, in the Premier League, saying that they'd had enough of the way the league was running. I mean, that would be a huge story. So I don't know where it leaves F1 itself. Clearly, they'll have to respond. I mean, the Las Vegas Grand Prix seems to have very quickly become not just a huge sporting event, but a very lucrative one. It seems that tickets are at a premium. It also feels like one of those events where lots of people from other sports, including football, lots of people I know in football went to that, and it's seen as a bit of a kind of a place to do deals, a place to be seen, and that quite fascinating to us who are outsiders, but clearly for those for whom racing is their lives, it's not what. Well, certainly in Verstappen's words, it's not the way they see the sport and the way they want it to be.